So I've stopped the recording so that you could finish with Victor. I'm back recording.
Okay.
Yeah. Where are you based in SA, by the way?
I'm in Pietermaritzburg in KZN, KwaZulu-Natal.
Oh, okay. Is he coming there, Victor? I think he said
he's
he was
coming.
driving
He's
to
coming here.
KZN.
Yeah, I think he's already. Oh no, he's not arrived yet. He's going to be here in, I think, in half past 6.
All right. No,
But he's
that's
coming here for an event tomorrow.
okay, sir. No, that's good. So Victor tells me that you're going to be joining the team, which is nice. And he sent me some of your work. Are you the one who's been working on Shaka?
Yes, I've been working on Shaka and with Mukansi.
Oh, with Mukanse.
Yeah.
Okay. Who did the sketches? Is it you or him?
It was him. It was him because I joined in late. So I only did the inks.
No, I haven't seen
Like
the final.
the final, yeah, I only did like the outlines.
For the cover.
The black outline. Oh, for the covers, I only did colors for that.
Okay.
For Nelson Mandela, for the Umkhonto weSizwe and Rivonia trial images, because they like put everything on the cover.
Okay, now that's really good. So I was telling Victor that I had a look at the Shaka story. It's quite an exciting, super exciting project. And I was telling him that maybe we could do some corrections here and there, like make the drawings more dynamic, instead of rigid and stiff. I hope that makes sense. Through the course of these sessions, I should be able to show you what I mean by that. Now, if we're to look at maybe Marvel comic books, none of them are stiff. And in most of the drawings, normally what other artists do is that you don't get to draw a person who's standing straight or who is standing. There's something called parallels. So you have to make sure that you get rid of the parallel points, like the shoulders. Whatever drawing that you make, if it's going to be an exciting pose, the shoulders should not be straight. The eyes are not always supposed to be straight like this. The eyebrows and everything, the ears are not supposed to be straight like this, all the way to the neck, the waist, the knees, and even, feet. They're not supposed to be straight. So when I looked at the Shaka drawing, that's why I'm saying it was a bit stiff, because everything was parallel. In most of the drawings, go and have a look at them from here. You will see that most of them are like parallel, shoulder, shoulder, like this. Instead of it being like this, more dynamic, or instead of the shapes of the body anatomy being a bit bent and more exciting and fun. So that's some of the things that we're going to be learning through these sessions. So, I mean, just a bit of history on myself. I have a lot of passion for art, but I want us as Africans to be able to do competitive art, because we are here to tell stories. Our stories should be able to compete with, what Marvel is doing, what DC is doing, even better. And the upper hand that we have is that African stories go untold they've been, untold for such a long time, that whatever we bring forward will seem like new content to the world. But for people to be excited about it, it has to be interesting in itself. it shouldn't just be stiff drawings and then we force it on people's throats to say, you gotta buy this because it's African. You have to support us because it's African. No. We want to be supported because we are doing the best work that the world, has to offer. I hope that makes sense, right?
Yes, it does make sense.
Yes. So for all of this to happen, we need to relearn art, relearn how to draw. I know that a lot of us, I don't know how it happens in SA, but here in Botswana, we have a lot of people being taught to trace by drawing using grids, and then they can't draw from imagination. So we'll be learning to draw from imagination, with the sessions, or how to use reference properly, how to look at ideas and then, get a few things to make your own character, your own original. So we're aiming for originality in everything that we do. Yeah, that makes sense, right?
It does make sense.
Yeah. So I want us to be able to look at the fundamentals of art. We might not be able to go through everything, but I want us to look at the fundamentals of art and what they're all about. And then, the structure of art in more detail. Maybe go as, further down the line but how do we see things as artists? So that's what I want us to have a look at today. I'm gonna share my screen in a bit. Uh, so that you can see how I draw. Yeah, just give me a moment.
Okay.
All right, so let me share my screen right now so that I can explain what I'm doing. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, cool. So I'm just going to do a new worksheet. I'm using a program called Clip Studio Paint. I don't know if you are familiar with it.
Yeah, I have it, but I was still like trying to figure out how to use it because it's different from what I've been using.
What have you been using?
Adobe Photoshop.
Okay. For comic books, Clip Studio Paint is really, really good. It might be better than Photoshop, but I know a lot of people, especially in the industry, use Photoshop for illustrations. Like, if I'm not mistaken, Moganse uses Photoshop, Berat uses Photoshop
Yeah.
as well. But it's not a big deal because you can actually export your work in PSD, even a large PSD file, and then they can open it on Photoshop and work on that worksheet. So what I'm doing now, I'm gonna name the sections with Kamohelo. And then, so I set my width to 4,000, height 3,000, and then resolution. So resolution, you always want to go 600 dpi. It's really, really good. The resolution will be high enough so that the thing can even be printed on billboards or be shown on large screens without pixelating. So always make sure that when you draw, 600 dpi or above. But if you want to go overkill, you just have to take the 1200 DPI one, but it's overkill. And maybe your laptop might not be able to handle such a big resolution because the file will be huge. So 600 DPI is not bad. I don't know how good your laptop or your desktop is. This is my default color. So I use an i7, which has about, it's not that much. It has about 20 GB RAM. So it's not bad. But you always want to go as high as possible if you can. Even if you can get 32, let me see, 32 GB RAM, that'll be fine. 20 is fine. Some people say, yeah, it's a bit overdoing it, but it's not bad. So the whole idea why you need a computer with big enough RAM is so that you can always export and render and not worry about rendering time. If your laptop is really, really low on the specs, then rendering, and especially if it's animation or a big enough illustration, it will take time and delay the process, right? Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, yes.
Yes, I want us to look at the structure of art, but before we get there, I am thinking of this one thing. So some artists look at this one thing. But art is theoretical. Or let me just correct this. Art is more theoretical than it is practical, which means anyone can learn how to draw. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree. I do agree.
The reason why I'm asking if you agree is that some people believe that art is a talent, but study shows that art is not a talent, it's a skill that anyone can learn. And for you to get better, you need to focus on the theory, learn the theory, and then put it into practice. That's how you get better. Now, I want to introduce something called getting messy. Getting messy. These things might look very simple to think about, but they're paramount to your success as an artist. So getting messy is about not being too cautious when you're drawing. Some people are too cautious. When they draw a circle, they will do this and say, that's a circle. I don't know if you have experienced this or if you've done this. This is how other people do it. And then some other people who are extremely cautious will do like something like chicken scratches like this and say, that's my circle. But the whole idea of getting messy is to use free hand. Make sure that your hand is super free. You see how my hand is free? I'm not worried about having the lines be extra clean or crisp, but I'm just worried about how do I make that circle to be perfect or more circular. And that's by not being afraid to get messy. So especially when you're doing illustration, even when you're drawing on paper. So with illustration, you can always go back and reduce the opacity of the messy sketch and then fix the work. You see, fix the work. Now that you have a guide, you see how you fix it. Now that you have a guide, you are able to work on that circle and make it perfect. So the whole concept of getting messy is exactly this. When you're drawing on paper, you get messy and then you rub, right? So this is a tip for drawing on paper. Always draw light. Always draw light. You see how light this is? You always draw light and then you can come back and fix the circle with more pencil pressure. Now, this is what happens when you're drawing on paper. Again, you can always rub the mistakes if you made a mistake. One more tip. I feel like I'm speaking too much about this, but it's really critical. One more piece for not being afraid to mess up work, which also helps, speed up your growth as an artist, is to draw without erasing. So when you draw without erasing, you kill the fear of making a mistake. You can start out by using a pen or just use a pencil and then you don't erase. I mean, a pen, of course, will force you not to erase because you can't. So always get messy. Don't be afraid to get messy. Draw light when you start, especially when you're drawing on paper, so that later on you can draw over your sketching. So yeah, that's a bit of the introduction. And then when we look into the fundamentals of art, fundamentals of art, or we can just combine it and say the structure of art. The structure of art. So this is what the structure of art is all about, Kamohelo. I hope we're still together. Are we still together?
We are. I'm still here.
All right. So maybe let me ask you this before we get there. Let me stop sharing so we can talk face to face. Tell me your workflow. How do you normally draw?
Usually, like, I have an idea and then I write like everything down, if it's for a story or just like the whole concept. And then I usually do research to find more reference, or sometimes I take my own images, like to look to in terms of the lights or the shadows and the tones. And then like after doing those, I begin drawing on paper.
Yeah.
So after that, I trace over that using paper and the light box. And then after doing that, I would just ink using a fine liner or just scan it and send it over to Photoshop and put the inks over there.
Oh, you don't have a sketch pad?
No, I don't have it.
Okay, you need to get a sketch pad because it will make your work easier. I used to do that too when I started. I'd do that and then work on Photoshop and to bring especially the colors and to clean everything up. But it probably takes you a long time. How long does it take to finish one drawing? If you're doing a character.
The character it would take like an hour. If I am drawing on paper, like, yeah.
No, the whole process from drawing on paper and then going to
the whole process.
Yeah.
It can be like a day, like about 16 hours.
All right, to do a character, right? And also it depends, like characters for the Shaka story.
No, I didn't work on those.
No, I mean in
The
terms
kind.
of the art
Oh,
style, similar art style.
oh, oh, okay. If I was to do those, it would take me like a day to do 2 to 3 pages.
Okay. Yeah, what I want to talk about, I mean, the only thing that makes art to be taking forever, obviously, is to plan. You plan the scenes and everything that might take more time to plan, and then when you're putting down the details. The reason why I was asking this is I know that coloring with a mouse is not as easy as it might seem to be. Mouse control is not as easy as a pencil or a pen, or a digital
Mm.
pen. So hopefully, Victor will see that you get a sketch pad so that you can draw, directly on the laptop just to save time. But the kind of workflow that I was, uh, or when I said, how do you normally draw? I wanted to understand from when you have a character in front of you to draw, how would you draw that character? There's an easy formula to doing that, and it also comes with something called how to see like an artist. So let me go back to sharing so that I can show you. Let me share my screen. Oops, I think I shared the wrong thing. Sorry about that. I shared the wrong thing.
Okay.
Perfect. Here we are. So the structure of art is about these three things: shape, number two, form, number three, detail. Shape, form, and detail. So shape is normally 2D and flat, right? That's where you get the basic shape. You have something like this. This is a shape. And then form would be 3D, and you're able to see all sides. This is where you bring in things like lighting and perspective. And then here, detail is where you have texture, you have color. Yeah, so texture and color would be part of this, and just small details that your designs, small details like designs. So this is the structure of art. When you are drawing, your workflow should include these three things when you're drawing, and it also helps to draw from imagination. I mean, there are so many things that we're going to be able to go through which would help you draw from imagination. So let's break down this structure. There's a pyramid scheme. There's a pyramid like this. So this is the line of importance. We might say the line of importance is something like this. Shape, you have shape at the bottom. Then you have form here, and here you have detail. So shape and form, take the big chunk. This is called the rough section of art. And then this would be refinement. Refinement. So a rough in your workflow, this is the rough for the workflow. So when you're drawing Kamohelo, you need to come up with the shapes of whatever it is that you're going to be drawing. So this has to be embedded in you when you're drawing all the time. Like if you are drawing a chair, if somebody has put a chair in front of you, you have to look at the shapes that that chair makes. So it could be something like this. Sorry for my bad shape. Something like this. If the chair is facing there, you see, you have a square, almost two squares in there, but then this is the shape. You see how this is the shape that makes up the chair. Do you agree?
I agree.
Yeah. And then when we come to the form, we are trying to look at this thing from all sides. From all sides. It would be something like this, right? And then you have that there, which is like a flat square or flat rectangle. This is form. This is form. So we are drawing a chair, and then detail would be, you take the very same chair. Well, we're gonna run out of space there, but I trust you get what we're trying to do. And then now you bring in the details. You bring in the details to let's finish up here like this. Let's finish up here like this. Right, it's a chair. So, and then here, you've done all this. Now you add color. Now you add so something like this. Now, pardon me for not shading everything. So here, because we talked about light, light also means that there is a shadow. Light goes hand in hand with shadow. So this should be your workflow. If the light is coming from this side, light, then there'd be more shadow here. There'd be more shadow this side. And then slowly but surely, it gets lighter there. Yeah, so this is the workflow. This is how you design characters. This is how you build stories. Everything that you're drawing, you need to think of the shape that it makes. But most artists, in most cases, some artists combine shape and form. Shape and form artists. So this is how artists, look at the work. People normally just look at the detail. People look at detail and form, but artists start with shape and form. They combine it together and work that way to the details. Do you have any questions, sir?
Um, how would it look like if you combine the shape and the form?
When you combine
Like,
the shape and the
is it
form,
more like is it
right?
coming into more yes,
Is it?
like like you are showing in the second chair,
Yeah.
almost like a cube now, almost like it is in a sort of like a perspective way. Was that how they are combining it?
Yeah, it's more like you don't need to think about it, right? It just happens naturally because you built it in you as a habit. So when you draw, you think of the shape of the person. If the person's head is circular, you'll do the circle at the same time. You're working on where is the ear, where is this thing. So that's what I'm saying. You end up combining them, but the shapes should make sense. The form should make sense. You don't go and say, oh, let's make the shape, let's make the square first. No. You know in your mind that I'm going to be drawing a square, and then you work your way to the form. And the whole thing, the whole output is a combination of that. Yes, you agree?
Okay. Yes, yes, I agree.
So, so
So
yes, sir.
no, no, I was just thinking about it in like a circle. If it was a circle, then it becomes a sphere, like a ball, and then yeah, I was just
Yeah,
thinking about it that way.
yeah. It's a practical thing that a lot of us do, even without thinking about it. But like I was saying, theory is like super critical for you to be a good artist. So once you know the theory, your work improves easily. But the mistake that a lot of artists make is to jump to the practical. How do I draw this head? You don't think about, oh, let me make guiding uh, shapes. Let me start with a circle and build onto it. So you start immediately by trying to draw a nose or trying to draw the shape of the head. And then when you look at the work, the mouth is not where it's supposed to be, the nose is not where it's supposed to be, and just like that. So we'll get to the features of the face, as we keep progressing. But there's something critical that maybe I don't know if you know. So, like, there's a certain position where the eyes sit. There's a certain, position and angle where the ears sit and everything like that.
Yes,
So the more you
mm,
know these things, the more you're able to practice it, and then you can always go back to your work and say, "But I think there's something off with the drawing. What could be wrong?" And then you find, oh man, the nose is not where it's supposed to be. This person looks like a monkey now. He looks like an ape because or his lips is like this and stuff like this. And also we'll get to learn how to build emotions, how to show emotions in drawings. So the one thing that I want us to move away from is from drawing rigid and stiff characters and presenting it to people and say, hey, this is an amazing story. Buy this story, it's African. No, we don't want to be artists who say, buy from me because I'm trying to hustle. I could be stealing or robbing people, but I decided to work. So please buy from me. No, no, no. We want
PT
people,
buying.
sorry?
It's called PT, feeling PT, and it's
Yes, we
PT
don't want
buying.
that. We don't want
We
that. We
don't
don't
want
want
that.
to
Yeah,
blackmail people into buying.
donations. Yeah.
See, we don't want that. And a lot of us as artists, that's what we do. I'm sure that maybe you've seen somebody in the mall say, hey, I'm selling this portrait for 200 rands. And then when people say, I don't have money, they'll be like, oh, can you at least give me something for transport? We don't want that. We want people to buy our art because it's the best. because it can compete with, with the West, with Europe, with Japan. We have to. Yeah, I like the fact that you agree to that. So I want us to, let me do another demonstration of this so that when you're drawing next time, you can include it in your workflow. So I'm just gonna draw a cube shape. This is a square form. It's the same square, but looking at it from different angles. So you see what I'm doing here? It's, wait, can you see my screen?
No, you're not sharing.
Oh man, my bad.
Sorry.
Okay. Yes, so shape, form, and detail. I was saying what I'm doing here, you can see through, right? You can see through. It's very critical to us as artists that we need to be able to see through everything that we're drawing. I'll get to that in a bit. And then I'm doing the last shape. Shape, now form, turning it into form. Like this. So these sides are supposed to be equal. Now, going back to this is where now we add shading. I'm just gonna use water. Let me see this thing. Oh, it's not watercolor, it's a bit thick. Okay, I'm gonna use so when you are applying watercolor, so you need to keep in mind that once you lift off your brush, you might have to, yeah, this is how you do it. You don't lift it up so that it doesn't become weird. So again, light is coming from this direction. It's over there. What I'm doing is laying down values. I'm laying down values. And then I can increase this side because it's darker this side. It's darker this side. Yeah, but you get the idea, right?
Yes, I get it.
You get the idea. You are a good artist, talented artist. You get it? And then it gets lighter as you go there. Let me change this brush. I'm using oil paint now. I'm making this darker because the light is not hitting here. The light is not hitting here. So by the way, Clip Studio Paint, I'll say in my opinion is way better than Photoshop. But there are people who are more experienced with Photoshop who might say no. So that's just my opinion. Yeah, something like this. Then you can add a bit of white on where the light is being reflected. So let's use the same color that we used. Yeah, so I don't want to be too focused on making it perfect. I'm just trying to drive a point across. The light is still coming from the same place, by the way.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so now this is what you'd also do because this is the details. You can add something like this texture. See how adding texture means that it's no longer just straight. You know, some of the sides are a bit distorted. Let me just get right in there and do that. Yeah, so this is it. Oh, sorry. Shape, form, and detail. This is how we arrive to, having a finished final product. So now with the details, that's where you add, texture on clothing. If you're working on a character, you add color, you add skin color, you add, highlights and everything that makes the character stand out and exciting. But when you are thinking about form, that's where you make the character a bit bulky or slim, perspective, what angle you want people to be looking at him from. So, and you also think about the camera. So, one important thing, super important, that you should never forget when you are drawing scenes is that you need to think of the camera. Where is the camera looking from? So the camera is where is the audience going to be, reading this book sitting from? What do they want to see? Or what do I want them to see? Yes, and I know that sometimes when we draw, especially African based anime or comic books, we don't really think about such things like camera placement. What do we want to see? What do we want the customer, the client or reader to see? We are more into, I have an idea, let me put it across, but we don't think about such supporting elements that make it super exciting. And one of them is making everything dynamic, no parallel lines at all, unless if maybe a king is sitting down on his throne, but we can also make him more exciting when he's sitting down on his throne. I don't know if you've seen the new movie Black Adam.
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah, so we can go back to the throne, thing when the Rock, the very last scene, when he was sitting on that throne, he wasn't sitting straight on the throne, right? He was bending backward. He had his one knee up. So it was reducing the parallel lines. So we need to think about such things too, say. Any comments? You wanted to make a comment?
Um, so far, like, thank you. It's like I've learned so much today, and yeah, thank you.
Oh, I'm glad you learned.
But I just hope, yeah, I just hope like to get more into this, and because it's interesting,
Yeah.
more interesting, yeah, than the YouTube how-to videos.
Okay. There
And
is
this is
immediate
like the
feedback.
one and one. Yes.
Okay. No, thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure meeting you, and I can't wait for more sessions.
Yes.
All right. All right. Have a lovely
So
evening.
yes, you too. Thank you.
All right. Cheers, buddy.
Sharp.